Good morning, everybody. It's Saturday, April 18th, and it's 10:03 a.m. Eastern. And I just wanted to start off by cleaning up some confusion about where I stand. I did not step away from the Nancy Guthrie case. I did step away from Find Me. That decision, well, it wasn't sudden. It developed over time as I worked within the group and began to process and reassess some information, communications, and how things were being handled in cases and reports. And at the beginning, I received a request, as did other members, to submit our findings to the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I followed up with that request and I submitted that report to the FBI directly and through Find Me. And then later in a group setting, it was discussed that I was the only person to submit my findings to the FBI from the entire group. So now, before I go any further, I just want to address something in the comments. There was a second correspondence, and in that correspondence, when I learned in the background what was going on, I had a video up of me saying, I've been asked to submit my new findings, and it looks like I am incredibly tense and uncomfortable. And let me just say, I was simply processing, and information was evolving real time, and I was trying to decide how I was going to respond. So it's been challenging in the background for more reasons than one. And I'm not going to say any more than that. There have also been comments I just want to address about me covering this case simply to receive the reward money. First of all, I'm Canadian. I'm not American. So I would never qualify for the reward money. So this is not why I'm covering this case. This case is personal to me for so many reasons. If you've been following me and you know my story, you'll know why. Also, if you were to see my astrological chart, you would know that I am highly psychic, psychic medium with all the clairs, and I am meant to be in true crime and uncovering hidden truths. That's my astrology. That is who I am. That is why I cover the missing people, the cases. That is why I was volunteering with the Find Me group since 2018. Okay, so I'm not here for financial gain. I'm here because this is me. This is who I am. And I was covering true crime long before Nancy Guthrie and her case came into the media. And that's all I'm going to say, other than, and that's why I'm protecting the integrity of the case. That's all I'm going to say. That's it. We're done discussing this. And I just will continue to move forward with covering the Nancy Guthrie case. And that's it. That's all I have to say now. That's it. That's over. Love and light. Let's move on now to what the video here today is about. And that's the newest and breaking news updates in the Nancy Guthrie case. Later this afternoon, I'm going to do another Lynette Hooker where I try to zero in on her specific location. Okay. Stay tuned for that later today. So let's get into the newest breaking news updates in the Nancy Guthrie case. I don't normally cover Dolly, but I also thought this was clickbait. Holy smokes, it's not clickbait. Listen to this clip from Dolly.
The suspect detained in Nancy Guthrie's case. That is true. We're going to get into this. But let me explain what y'all are confused about. I was just as confused as you. You know who clickbaited us today? Pima Dam County clickbaited us today so hard that it is absolutely unreal. Okay. Now, if you're thinking, I want to string Dolly up by his toes today because of this title, I want you to look at this. Bam. What does this say? Update. Nancy has been located. Okay. They don't tell you Nancy Rostovich has been located. Okay. This is another 82-year-old woman in Pima County that went missing. Now, oh my God, guys, people are going insane on Twitter over this post because Pima County basically clickbaited everybody. They showed the last 20 people that went missing or that they were searching for, and Pima County every time used their first and last name. On this post tonight, they did not. They just put Nancy's been located. Everybody went insane. So before you start blaming Dolly, look where this post is from. Pima County Sheriff's Department. Update. Nancy has been located. Okay, I could not believe this. I was like, Nanews is the biggest idiot in the whole world. Okay, like you need to fire your social media person. You need to fire everybody involved in this case, right? Everybody in this case needs to be fired. But the good news is 82-year-old Nancy has been found. 84-year-old Nancy has not been located, and they have detained the suspect according to sources. Now, we're going to get into that a little bit. I just wanted to explain for everybody that's coming into the room thinking Dolly has just clickbaited us. No, absolutely not. The title is 100% legit. Breaking 82-year-old Nancy found. That's what this says. Okay. And this is from Pima County. Now, if you look, it says suspect detained in Nancy Guthrie case. It doesn't say Nancy Guthrie found. And so, like I said, if you go on to Twitter and you look at Pima County Sheriff's Office site, people are handing it to them, talking about how stupid Nanos is, talking about, you know, they need to fire the social media person and how they did this for clickbait, and that, you know, that all the other people that went missing. Hold on, I have the link. I want to show y'all this.
Before I continue to play Dolly's video where he shows people going nuts, because it's true. In every other report that the Pima County Sheriff's Office made, in every other report, they put the last name. But this time, and with the biggest case going on in the world probably right now, for sure within the United States, they don't put the last name. So yeah, you're going to watch in a second, and then we're going to get into some other breaking news. Why people are going berserkio on Sheriff Neno's submitted his ex post. Why would he not use the last name in this post, or whoever made the post, when in every other missing persons case they refer to them by last name? Was it an oversight? Was it an intention? We know that Nanos has until April 21st to submit his report to Pima County. That's Tuesday. I don't know if this is him trying to get attention or what's going down, but it was really a misstep. Keep watching. It really was a misstep. Let's watch.
Guthrie discussion. Let me pull this link up. I have it saved right here because you guys gotta see this to believe this. Okay. Let's pull this up over here. And as you can see, it says the same thing. Update, Nancy has been located, right? And if you don't look really close, she looks like Nancy a little bit. She has the same hair as Nancy, right? But then you go down here. I don't know how you click onto the comments. I literally thought this was Nancy Guthrie. The way my heart just dropped. You need to fire your social media managers. This was out of touch. This is the person that posted the thing that showed everybody's first and last name, but they didn't show Nancy's, right? Because they wanted people to think they had found Nancy Guthrie. So look, everybody, Jasmine Gonzalez, Mr. Kinfoot, so they're saying everybody's name by their last name, but they just called this woman Nancy, right? So, I mean, there's just so many comments.
Yeah.
The Nancy wasn't even missing for 24 hours. What is this post for? His reality TV show, Sheriff Nanews needs to be fired immediately. I swear to God, this Twitter account is ran by Mr. Magoo. Oh my God. At first I saw Nancy. I looked at the photo. I thought it was Nancy Guthrie. So did I. When I first seen this, I couldn't believe it. I thought, oh my God, they found Nancy Guthrie, right? And it said located, it didn't find, because when I heard located, I was like, is Nancy alive? Tell the truth. Did you hide her so you could find her to improve your numbers? Up 50-50 at finding Nancy's progress. So guys, listen, the reason the title is the way it is because that is how Pima County posted this information tonight. Now, here is the real breaking news. We know that, of course, they have found DNA. And at first we thought this was DNA that was found by Pima County. But as you remember, when the FBI took over, they came in and did their own investigation. You shouldn't use her name. What do you mean I shouldn't use her name?
Now, here we go. Here's what Nancy Grace reported last night.
First to Tucson, straight out to crime stories. Investigative reporter Dave Mack reports in the late night hours that a person south of Tucson had been detained for questioning. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that the same general area where someone was detained before? Several weeks ago, nearly at the get-go, and everyone was so happy that maybe the case had been resolved, and then it turned out the person was released. In fact, in that case, the SWAT team rolled out for one of the first times since Nancy Guthrie went missing, and they were poised also nearby a hostage negotiator, we were told, but it all fizzled out. What do you know?
Nancy, that is exactly what happened. And it appears that we're right back in that same general area as we had been before. And now we're being led to the trough, the possible suspect. There's possible new information, but Pima County not jumping in, nobody providing us with a lot of information on this, Nancy, other than what we're putting together by saying, hey, they're in the same general area that we've already been once before. And remember, Nancy, you mentioned that was a big undertaking that last time with the SWAT team, a negotiator. The law enforcement had a plan that they were putting into action, and it ended up being nothing. Now we're 2 months down the road, and a lot more information has come in. We're getting some DNA evidence back, and now back in the same place. So we'll have to wait and see what happens next.
Well, the good thing this time, to Tammy Ballard joining us, DNA and crime scene consultant, crime scene investigator, reconstructionist, former DNA criminalist for the San Diego Police Department Crime Lab. Tammy, thank you for being with us tonight. Tammy, we also know that contrary to what Nano said at the get-go, in the last weeks, the FBI has confirmed that they obtained DNA from inside Nancy Guthrie's home. Many, including me, believe it was from her bedroom. We are also learning from sources that it is, in fact, a hair. Now, we could do a lot of finger pointing right now about why Nano's team didn't find it, what a miracle it is that the FBI found it weeks later. Reality, they found it. Now, we understand it's a hair. If that's true, Tammy Ballard, what does that mean? And I also know this, Tammy, that the FBI is testing it at their labs. It has not been sent to the teacher's pet lab that Nanos has had a contract with.
It actually is the greatest time for there to be hair recovered from a scene because the technology right now is on point. In the old days, you had to have that hair, which is also very hard to find. So you have to give the crime scene people some credit because it is that's a difficult evidentiary piece right there. But once it's located, now is one of the best times in the forensics world because you have to have that really great hair root for DNA. And now you have these laboratories across the country that are able to extract a DNA profile from a hair that is not even having that great root material. So what we call rootless hairs.
Joining us is Tammy Ballard, and she is referring to nuclear DNA from a hair, which you get from a root. What she's talking about is a nuclear hair sample where the root is obtained. In the root of your hair, you have your dad's DNA and your mother's DNA, nuclear, like the nuclear family, nuclear DNA. If the root is not still attached to the hair, no problem. We now have mitochondrial DNA, which is only from your mother's side, but it can still be a match. No problem. I'd always rather have nuclear, but if I don't have it, fine. What we have is a hair now being analyzed by the FBI. What exactly, Tammy, is the difference between analyzing, let's just say, blood or sperm, and let's go with the least desirable, mitochondrial DNA from a hair? What's the difference in those two DNA analyses? For those of you just joining us, we hear in the night hours, someone, a male, south of Tucson, detained for questioning, but then everything went radio silent. What happened, if anything? That said, the FBI has let it out that they have DNA and we believe it's a hair. So how is the analysis different, Tammy Ballard, between, let's just go with a mitochondrial hair analysis versus blood or sweat analysis?
Before I continue on, we've heard a lot. Brian Enton reported also, that there is a potential, which is absolutely phenomenal news, that the FBI were able to find a hair inside the house. So we're going to pray for that to bring back some amazing results. But another thing that was going down in the background that I was not aware of because I was so immersed in Lynette Hooker a few days ago, I got a hit. I was sitting here in the living room here at my place, and I was focused in on whatever I was. I don't even remember what I was doing, and I got this hit, which is when I can tell my guides are coming in and my energy's spinning. It's like something's coming in to get my attention. And then immediately a picture of when I was in New York City. When I visited New York City years ago, I've been there a few times. Love, 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 love New York City. And I was traveling with a book publishing company that I was a speaker for at the time. And I get this memory of um, when I was in New York. So very, very interesting information. Very, very interesting information. So particularly when you consider what we're going to report next. So listen to this part of Nancy Guthrie's update.
Well, we all saw Savannah Guthrie introduced Hollywood star Anne Hathaway. They went to a break, and when we came back, no Savannah Guthrie, she was called off the set. Many speculated she got word of a development in the Nancy Guthrie case. Was it to do with the person detained? Was it some other development? She came back. And what that tells me, Dave Mack, is she was not told that Nancy had been found either dead or alive, or she would have left and been on the next plane out to Tucson.
Yep.
So it's not that. But she did leave the set. So that's another factor to throw into what we're already learning about a potential detainee, not arrest, a detainee detained for questioning in the nighttime hours south of Tucson. What can you tell me about that?
Well, Nancy, when you get right down to it, Savannah introduced an upcoming segment with Anne Hathaway. And when viewers came back to the scene, Hoda Kotb was doing the interview. Nothing was said, just Savannah's not there. And, it makes, this from a network level, the preparation that goes into having a segment like that is pretty intense. So for Savannah to be taken away at that moment, not something they would do lightly. It was obviously to get her information because they might have been afraid that this information was going to be leaked and it could be leaked before they were able to get it to her. So that's what I'm kind of leaning towards. Now, what actually happened with regard to the DNA, the hair, whatever they found, again, investigators being very cagey on what they're telling us. We know.
Okay. What do you think? We'll leave it there for today. What do you think? Do you think this case is about to break? Do you think that this is really important information? Savannah returned back to work on April 6th. I think this was 2 days ago, maybe 3 earlier this week. And I think that maybe this is really some very important information going on in the background because she has not been interrupted as far as we know before. But 2 weeks after she returns to work, 1.5 weeks after, we got a lot of, we got the statement the day she returns from the Bitcoin dude. And then a week later, she leaves the set with important information. So tell me what you think. I kind of get the feeling and getting the sense that this case might be unraveling and we might be ready to, it feels like it's gaining some traction at this point in time. Before I felt like it was, not maybe so well. They weren't maybe doing so well. And I had described this feeling like the pieces of yarn were all over the place and they just needed to connect two pieces and the whole ball of yarn they would all connect and start to create this ball of momentum. And I'm not so sure. I'm curious as to what that is that's going on, that they, had Savannah leave her desk. I'm wondering if they maybe found that one piece of yarn that may be leading to something else. I'm hoping and praying that's the case. Thank you for everybody for being here. Look out for the next video today on Lynette Hooker. I'm going to do remote viewing, and we're also going to talk about something else about this case with Lynette Hooker. Every case, in my opinion, has lessons for us. And I want to talk about what, the Tepe murders. There was lessons there about, exes who have been violent in the past and how they can hold a grudge for a very long time. and how, you know, the surgeon who has been arrested for the Tepe murders, the ex of Monique Tepe, he told her this would happen, you know, 8 years earlier. And that to me was a big opportunity in the true crime space to talk about domestic abuse. But I want to take that a lot differently and further in Lynette's case, because boy, oh boy, I see it's not, how do I word this? I see the division of opinions on this case that is extremely upsetting and disturbing for anybody who's lived through domestic violence. And I'm going to leave that there. We're going to talk about that in detail later today. Love and light, everybody. Thank you for being here. All of you, do all the YouTubey things, please. Talk to you soon.